No dress code.
It's like Shelton. He's coming right at it.
So where are we? Looks like we're someplace that could be called the PORCFEST.
My name's David Butler. I'm the lead organizer this year for PORCFEST. Free State Project has two events every year. The Porcupine Freedom Festival, or PORCFEST, is our summer event, and that's held in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, here in Lancaster. In the wintertime, we do the Liberty Forum, which is a more of a conference-style event, held in a hotel with conference rooms and catered meals and that sort of thing.
Nice to meet you.
This is the 11th year. We are expecting somewhere between 1,300 and 1,500 people, and as you can see by everything around here, it's very popular, it's growing, and people love it.
Get you guys something?
My favorite part about PORCFEST is seeing all the familiar faces from all over the country of major movers and shakers who come out here, who are all celebrating a common cause, liberty in our lifetime, and bringing community together.
It's a very unique experience being able to be surrounded by like-minded people. Me and my girlfriend came up from Virginia, and a lot of events, it's real easy to talk to people. If there's any topic that you're interested in as far as libertarian ideology goes, you can find people to discuss it with. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Every evening there's 3 hours of Free Talk Live. And in the morning, Ernie Hancock does a show. And there's other shows throughout the week.
I'm a New Hampshire native, and this is my second year here, and I'm having a fantastic time. I came up for 1 day last year, and I'm up here for four or 5 days this year.
We have what we call Agora Valley, so we have a bunch of vendors set up in like 3 or 4 rows of RV sites.
If I gave you a file, could you print it?
Yes, he probably could.
All right, Wonderland. You know that place?
I found out about PORCFEST, and I came the first year, and I just had an awesome time. This is my 3rd year, and it just feels great to be around people who are rational, who are really smart, and who really want the best.
Go up about 400 feet, go straight down and make a left.
Yeah, well, I can say yeah. But yeah, we're Bitcoin Magazine is we're selling magazines here, but we're giving out free 3D print little porcupines and little Bitcoins. These have been going like crazy.
It's a bunch of people gathering for freedom, and that's what it's all about. That's why I'm here. I want to live my life.
It's just been an incredible experience the first couple times, so I wanted to come back. That's about it.
And really, that's what libertarianism is all about. We want the smallest government possible.
This is the culmination of decades of people talking about free minds and free markets, about limited government and maximum freedom. And I think you see it on display here. You see it on display in the people talking in the big tents. You see it on display in the people camping out in their little tents. And it's just a real kind of lived freedom, I think, that the country has been hungering for, and is now finally in a position where we can start to kind of feed that urge.
From 10% up to 100 slowly. You cut out half of the profit the banks make. The banks make most of the profit by monetizing or by the fractional reserve, which is basically robbery.
Well, you can pay off. Welcome back to the Angel Clark Show. We are live at PORCFEST this Monday, June 23rd. And you know, when we broadcast from PORCFEST, we're up in this huge media center, like an ivory tower. I'm speaking with James Jaeger. He's a film producer as well as an amateur physicist. He's got a lot to say about the singularity, but I want to talk about your movies because that's something that people can check out at home themselves. I'm holding in my hand a disc for Molan Labe. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Exactly.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit about this movie. Is this your latest one?
Molon Labe was released last September. It is our 6th political film with Ron Paul. When I got to LA in '77, I worked at Paramount Ranch, and I brought my camera and my light meter and my tripod, and they said, forget all that. Here's your hammer and your saw. You're going to build a Western set.
I really enjoyed it. They might have some back at the side.
We show up to see house fire, and they don't have insurance. They cover the fire. Well,
the Porcupine Festival and the Free State Project works together because there's a consensus about freedom and everybody comes to one place and explores those ideals.
The idea behind the Free State Project is to bring 20,000 liberty-minded people to New Hampshire with the intent of exerting the maximum influence they can to bring about a free society, a society where the maximum role of government is really just the protection of your personal liberties, property rights, things like that. So really it's a minarchist viewpoint, right? Because we're saying, you know, there should be some role for government, and not everybody agrees with that. We have a lot of anarchists, we have a lot of voluntarists, you know, so these aren't people that we exclude at all. But the Free State Project itself is really going for more of a very, very limited government role. And so really that's our only purpose, is to bring these 20,000 people here. Once we have 20,000 people sign up, that will trigger the move, quote unquote, and basically people, when they sign the statement of intent for the Free State Project, they're saying, okay, when you get 20,000 signers, within 5 years, I'll agree to move to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. So that's what we're working on right now. We've got 15,000, 16,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, signers. So we're really looking within the next year or so, hopefully, getting that 20,000th signer and triggering the move. And then within the next 5 years, we should have you know, many more thousand people coming to New Hampshire, so that we can, you know, get people elected into office. We can, you know, create farms and little communities and, you know, things like that. So that's really the goal.
And doing that, CrossFit is interesting because it's basically a series of those, right? You're sort of doing some lifting weights, but not.
I'm looking forward to the abortion panel, and then that'll be interesting. The Bitcoin Magazine Q&A, that'll be great. Bitcoin Magazine's awesome. And there's a talk that Miss Ulbrich is doing on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Even this polymer lower here I bought was just under $2. I'm here today to promote my business of Minuteman Arms LLC out of Laconia. I'm a FFL dealer and a AR platform builder. You might be able to find a used one beat up for that price, maybe. This is my first year and I'm thoroughly impressed. The people that you meet here are some of the best people you'll ever meet in the world.
Fires, this stuff comes flying out. Fire is going boom, boom. You're doomed. Now, I just had to take their word for it. But,
when you put the bees in, there are a number of ways of buying bees. Packages are one of the more common ones, and they literally sell bees by the pound. You know, buy a box with screened sides full of bees. You know, usually 3 pounds of bees, and then 1 queen. And you literally take the top off of it, take it to your hive, and shake it in there like it was full of sand or something. Which for the uninitiated looks terrifying, but they really don't.
I first heard about PORCFEST probably through Free Talk Live. They kept talking about PORCFEST. I finally came up in 2010. And it was an amazing experience, and so I've been back every year since. So, but my experience, yeah, it's basically just kind of, it's a relaxing vacation for me. I don't really do a lot of work here, just experiencing freedom and what a voluntary society would look like, at least in a microcosm here.
People around those businesses, and not locationally, but just, in terms of the peer-to-peer network, are going to be able to participate. I think that that's really exciting. So that's something that I'm trying to explore.
Somebody needs to be the boss. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. And the evidence is, for example, pirates.
I live in San Francisco, so I don't get to see friends that I have in New Hampshire a lot. And I did a talk on Wednesday, so that was fun, on mesh networking. Interested in getting more technology, liberating technology in the whole Free State project. I've been to a lot of Bitcoin conferences in the last year, so there's a lot of overlap with that, and then a lot of them have come here as well.
We're basically saying it was some kind of treaty that was signed 100 years ago when the only thing it had to do with was grazing rights.
If this is the Middle East, this is the map of the Middle East. The Arabs, the Palestinians got all of this. The Jewish people have that right there. That's all they got.
The problem is it's the most sacred land to any
to all of them, right?
To all of them.
So,
yes.
Give us something.
Loving it. Full of fun, libertarian people all around that have a lot of the same beliefs and cool technologies that they're sharing with each other. It's awesome. It's great. I guess this is probably my fourth or fifth one so far. And I come to, it's like a family reunion kind of, see all your buddies and do fun activities, climb mountains and go water skiing and attend all these events and play Frisbee and all this kind of stuff. So barter with Bitcoin or gold or whatever. So yeah, it's been a blast.
At the conventions, they decided they're going to have 2 categories of people. This is important. Combatants and non-combatants. If you're a combatant, you had a gun, you had a flag, you were under a command structure. If you're a non-combatant, you didn't have those.
Advantage, and we would get to set the ethical tone, and I think that's what we would want.
So obviously in a contract, that's just my opinion, obviously, and no, you couldn't, because that's not really consent unless you can leave.
As far as enforcement, I guess the method of enforcement would simply be you can't use our framework anymore. And yeah, it's not a monopolistic idea that the framework would be fundamentally charitable, not used only by charity.
One of the complexities of civilization is how to organize itself. Competition does have a certain degree of workability along with cooperation, but the question is when do you use which?
Well, and of course this would not be a monopolistic system, so if somebody has a better idea, make it happen.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what the whole point is.
I'm more open than a lot of natives.
Uh-huh.
A lot of natives, you've heard of Northern New Yankee, Northern
yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
My music is about what everybody hears about, individual liberty and freedom and a freer society out from under the footprint of tyranny.
What a vibe. I mean, the Butlers have done a great job. This has been a really great vibe this year. Lots of love, lots of kindness. Just an overall fantastic experience, and if you've never been, you're missing out.
I personally have been coming to New Hampshire for the past 22 years with my family for the summers for vacation, so I decided I would come with them, and I'm really enjoying myself.
They're each different. This is my 5th, and I've seen an evolution. And last year you saw the first signs of it, where people were eating healthier. You know, they had lost a lot of weight from the year before. They stopped smoking. They're more concerned about instead of trying to fix the planet, more about fixing themselves or their community. They're bringing it down, personal. Last year I saw that to where, you come out here and you don't see big giant bands of people smoking anymore. It's way more mature, but it is a lot freer. They've experienced it already from previous PORCFests and living their lives and meeting other people. It grows and it gives you the idea of that anything's possible.
My name is Bill Gubert. I am the founder and publisher of ZeroGov.com. That is my email address there, thirdgun@hotmail.com. ZeroGov.com, of course. I have a book on Amazon that carries that very same title that you see there on Amazon Kindle. I would urge you to buy it, because of course I'm up here to do some shameless self-promotion. Nonetheless, at $2.99, it's pretty inexpensive. But what I'd like to talk about today is my journey, why the Constitution is one of the most diabolical and clever instruments to make enslaved people think they are free, and talk about what some of our remedies are, and why abolitionism is the only moral and virtuous path that we should travel and arrive at.
As you can see, there's lots of activities for children, families, and there's plenty of discussions about the future, how we can move towards a voluntary society without the coercion of governments, and there's plenty of activities in commerce where people are buying and selling items, lots of good food, lots of other good products and services.
It's people looking for more freedom, and this has been going on for over 10 years now, and it's just, to some people it's a preview of what a voluntary society would look like. Voluntary meaning we don't have the force of the gun or force of government telling people what to do, and they just kind of interact with each other voluntarily.
The costs associated with getting involved with crypto anarchy and in promoting the crypto anarchy strategy are very few costs.
This is the future. This is society. I met my fiance here. We're going to get married here next year, and just this is it. This is what freedom is.
If the government were to shut down the internet, all of a sudden business would go, hey, wait a minute, our customers just went away. They wouldn't tolerate it. So that would break the link between government and big business at that point, because the big business couldn't see any percentage in shutting off all commerce.
If this walkie-talkie can talk to this walkie-talkie, let's say, and this walkie-talkie can take the signal from this and pass it on to the next walkie-talkie, encrypt it and pass it on. And the idea is my walkie-talkie passes your signal if you pass my signal.
What services do you want to see happen? What do you want to see necessary in terms of, being productive for the festival this week without connecting to the outer internet?
Well, I think that's the real first question, is what is the goal? Right, I mean, if you're... yeah, so the question is like, what are we talking about with mesh networking? Is it...
Our country's bankrupt, our economy is not working, and I believe we can solve these problems with bold solutions that are premised on liberty. Free markets, individual rights to act in their own interest, balanced budgets, and constitutionally restrained government. I believe that those approaches, those premises, can be used to win over voters in sufficient numbers to solve these problems. We need to turn our economy around, we need to balance the federal budget. I've lived here in the state for 40 years. I've started and run about 10 businesses here. I served in the state senate. I wrote the state's charter school law. I initiated debate that led us to have electricity competition here. I've done a lot of things that have illustrated how more freedom, more individual choice can actually improve people's lives. Our charter schools have shown that we can have much better schools at lower cost, solving problems, more freedom.
Voluntarily set our nodes to go to this one locally hosted in a node, and they'll say, hey, I've got a gateway to the internet. Right now, he's had to go and set up his own repeaters.
This year's theme is do it yourself. So this year is all about how can we really make this real for us, So it's like, all right, let's talk about moving to New Hampshire and creating a free society.
what does that mean? What does it look like? And here's the steps that we can take to really make ourselves free. So whether that's, you know, buying a farm and, you know, growing our own food, or if we're apartment dwellers, you know, creating some little, you know, container garden so that we can have some form of food independence. You know, what does that mean as far as making a living, right?
4.5 terabytes that
Whoa.
they flooded him with. That's one of the things they do, apparently. So he's got to wade through that.
Go to the documentary world. So when was that, in the 80s that you moved into documentaries?
I did Fiat Empire in 2007.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I should have missed that.
Build your own AR-15 class. Like, what's worth it for the people who are community members, and I taught them something that I knew, and we finished the project, and now they have a functional AR-15 rifle. So
companies are working on plastic filaments that you can print. It's amazing. So there's actually wood filament.
The town I live in. It's not, you know, the HOA I'm in, or, you know, the tent city that I'm in. Whatever. It's the friends that I have within my network.
To the nap. If I go around hurting people, I'm going to get hurt. So, not going to associate with you. Your life's going to be a little more...
The Free State Project, they host this event, and the Free State Project is a project designed to convince 20,000 people to move to New Hampshire to try and to achieve that voluntary society that we're talking about. For a lot of people, that means a lot of different things, and PORCFEST shows that off. So in a lot of ways, the Free State Project is involved, as in PORCFEST is an opportunity to host people from around the world to show them that this really can work. If you want to find out more about PORCFEST and, of course, the Free State Project that's holding it, you can go to freestateproject.org, or you can go to porcfest.com. Now, it's important, it's P-O-R-C as in porcupine, because the porcupine is the mascot for the Free State Project. So it's porcfest.com. The porcupine is the idea that it's a very peaceful animal until you step on it. And then suddenly it starts, you know, its quills come out.
We have, after the polyamory panel, we have a talk about the Shire Co-op and where it's going from here, what the future vision of that is. And then after that, we're going to have a topic called Libertarians Against Capitalism. And we chose that topic intentionally to arouse, essentially, and it's really all about the definitions, and different people have different definitions of the word capitalism.
Thank you.
Yep, polyamory. Poly, many, amory, loves, many loves is polyamory is the definition. How that plays out depends on who's going to be busy with that. I'm sure there'll be commentary from various people who have some long-term interaction with these terms and better approaches to a discussion.
Society puts out rules for us that they call ethics and morals, but if you apply the actions that they say that you should do, you never quite arrive at the happy life you wanted. So I think it's important for us to recognize that there are invalid ethics in our culture, and I think one of the things that we can do as liberty activists and polyamorous is to examine these assumptions and go, well, does this action produce the goal I want? Is it a valid ethic?
And so what I like about polyamory or ethical non-monogamy is that it says that your contract is not to be intimate with only one person. Your contract is the promise that you make with a person, and if you both agreed that polyamory or ethical non-monogamy or monogamy is the appropriate answer to your relationship, then you're holding true to your ethics as long as you're always honest to what you say you're going to do. And that's what the couple has decided, and that's why I find it ethical.
Quite the combination, huh?
Yeah, excellent. Carload, or we have bag.
We have a transfer station. We're twice a week.
Good. How are you? Makes sense there. Okay, that's pretty much the problem. Yeah, they sacrifice. Alright, I need ice cream because I'm here. I would. Straight in there.
For the radio show.
I don't like this place. I think we'll bring the wiener dog next time, I think.
I think it's a pretty kick-ass fest, man. There's a lot of liberal-minded people here. There's a lot of smart people here. That's what I like. They seem to be getting together to get away from the corporocratic government, and I really like that. I usually go to festivals, music festivals, to support legalization of cannabis, you know, but here it's a totally different atmosphere. And I'm digging it, man. Yeah, I'm glad I came. My buddy really tried hard to talk me into it, and I didn't want to come, but I'm glad I did. It's a wonderful experience. It really is. I like it a lot.
So that's $300 right there. Okay, so the $955 thing is a low-ball figure.
I'm hoping the new way of life and understanding that though it seems like it's not within our reach, it really is. It's there, and we're moments away, and it's exciting.
Virtually everybody in libertarian circles has heard by now about the Free State Project, and the people here are some of the most principled people I've ever met, and it's terrific. It's a beautiful spot. You get to talk to people who get it, and leaving their neighbors alone, who understand history, political philosophy, political economics, and just the basic instinct of your fellow person.
Hey, John, what's up, man? I didn't know you were, hey, what's up? How's it working with kids? Yeah, I didn't realize I thought you were getting here later. So, how's it going?
I'm here for my son. His name's Wolfgang Wurlitzer, the ones who invented the jukebox and the piano. He's a direct descendant, and since he was 5 years old, he's believed in this. He's 18 now, and I come to support him.
Okay, sure. I'm a better guy.
I tried communism was a big news back then, and a lot of people thought that oh well, yes, that's we need everybody to be equal, etc., etc. And it's like, well, no, we need people to be free to pursue their own interests, and out of every individual effort comes the complexity of an economy and a society that does. I mean, look at where there's the least amount of meddling, there's the most amount. I mean, imagine if the federal government started regulating computers. You know, well, you can only make this kind of motherboard, and you can only make this kind of, and you can. I mean, imagine how backward things would be. I mean, the government's been in charge of the schools for over 100 years. Look how backward they are. They're still getting a bunch of kids sitting in chairs.
High school to go to college
Yeah.
and learn something that you don't even know if you want to learn or if you want to do. Or
And you know, people are realizing, well, why put children into those kind of boxes when, with unschooling and the internet, children could pursue whatever interests they wanted, and there's all the information in the world for them to absorb.
That's what I'm like starting to realize now after being in school for so long. I'm like, this isn't like when I sit there on the computer and I look up stuff that I want to look up. It's more like holistic healing, like yoga, Reiki.
You know what took a few
One of the things that we tell our candidates when they're doing what's called a knock and talk is that when you knock, your goal is to get 3 vital pieces of information out.
PORCFEST is something that you need to experience to come here. It's a bunch of like-minded, liberty-loving individuals, people who love liberty and freedom, joining one place to create a community of respect and working together for a common cause.
This one's going to be pretty tight.
Seem to be connecting a lot of the celebritarians that are rolling through here with each other. Some of the mainstream political candidates that apparently have decided that PORCFEST is the new campaign stop that they got to hit, and generally have a great time.
Which is this one, you know? That may not be.
I'm not really knowledgeable. I just have a best friend. She works at.
Question is, how do we make millennials understand that libertarianism is what they're about, and it offers the best hope for a future that is filled with prosperity, that is filled with freedom, and that is filled with expression of everything they want to do with themselves.
Well, I came to PORCFEST last year and I really enjoyed it. I'm the editor at Bitcoin Not Bombs. I write for Bitcoin Magazine. I'm doing a couple panels this year, so I was on a Women in Bitcoin panel, and also I'll be doing a Bitcoin Magazine Q&A panel and a couple other events here. So I'll be kind of in some of the events in PORCFEST, but also just hanging out and attending.
It's been a great experience, a lot of conscious people with a lot of good thoughts, and I've been just meeting some of the most interesting people I've ever met and learning a lot of information.
Good old brown booze we could not miss, and we were not 15 minutes there till we were all pissed. That means drunk. Here comes Dave. And
the idea behind the Free State Project is to bring 20,000 liberty-minded people to New Hampshire to bring about a free society, a society where the maximum role of government is really just the protection of your personal liberties, property rights, things like that.
first one, but this one, it's just, these ones were like anecdotes and stories and stuff. This is just kind of like an overview.
It's nice to see people that have read a lot of books about free market economics and political philosophy, and just attending talks like this is pretty interesting too. When you see mainstream individuals basically talking the language of liberty and advocating for a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin to supplant the fiat currency by the state, that's a great change. Maybe it's a hopeful thing for the future.
Before Ron Paul ever ran for president, we had the Libertarian Party, we had Reason Magazine, and Nick was there. Nick is currently editor of Reason TV. He has an MA and a PhD, a very well-educated individual. He writes for the Daily Beast, Time Magazine, and his latest book with Matt Welch is Declaration of the Independence, how libertarians...
Enter into an already created civilization, a world of freedom and that's based on a devotion to liberty. And what you get here is a sense of deep affection and love among everyone who's here. A very rooted conviction that freedom works and a determination to illustrate that in practice.
Pro tip, you can rarely go wrong by complimenting your audience. By the way, you're also never seen such a pretty, handsome, and fresh smelling audience. Yeah. All right, so let's get talking, and I'll shut up as soon as possible, and then we'll have some Q&A hopefully. Because they're shapeshifters, it's because they're interesting and different and incredibly varied, just like our Pop-Tarts, just like our produce, just like things like this. Here is some sriracha, again, sriracha mayo. Sriracha pepper sauce was unknown in America in the early 60s. This is going to hurt when it hits you, so I want to make sure. Does anybody ever catch with chocolate-covered pretzels last night? They are flips, you know what, a mutant form of pretzel covered with chocolate that is branded with the X-Men. This is mutant milk chocolate. And here, I'll throw this one out. This is Wolverine white fudge. Look at this. What an amazing world we live in, where constantly changing products, goods and services, identities, communities are being formed to fill whatever needs we have.
You feel it. I mean, you feel it almost the instant you get here. You know, a sense of humanity, a sense of love, a sense of benevolence. That's really all it comes down to. And a belief, really, that the voluntary life is the good life.
In a world like this, one that is colorful and constantly changing. I will end it there, and let's have some questions and answers. Of a great world which nobody could have imagined even 10 or 20 years ago. So, yes?
My family, we moved from the Soviet Union to Canada about 16 years ago, and my father says he moved to Canada, he goes into the grocery store and he goes into the milk aisle and he sees kefir. He doesn't see just kefir, he sees 7 different flavors of kefir, this appropriated drink from Eastern Europe, this yogurt drink, and he just stands there in awe, unable to make up a decision for half an hour. And to me, that is a symbolic kind of experience of freedom, and the freedom of choice, and the freedom of capitalist free markets. So thank you for having that as a theme, because that resonates with me 100%.
And remember, you don't even have to eat breakfast. This is a world of choice. It's not about which Pop-Tart to eat. It's, do you want Pop-Tarts, or do you want kefir, do you want a bacon, yes. There are certainly more types of bacon in the world than ever before. Or you don't have to eat breakfast at all. Yes?
So earlier, when you first started the talk, you asked everybody whether they thought kids should be educated.
Given the Patriot Act, the Department of Homeland Security, the NDAA, now Snowden revelations, per the recent book that Glenn Greenwald just put out called No Place to Hide, would you say that we're in a police and surveillance state at this point?
Yeah, things are not good all across the board. You know, I think it's horrifying that the government is collecting data on everybody, everywhere, all the time. By the same token, we're more aware of it and we can kind of push back or live our lives beyond that. It's really important, I think. Part of what I've called libertarianism 3.0, or kind of like the next stage of libertarianism, is to realize that if we spend all of our time focused on the government to the exclusion of getting on with our lives or enjoying anything, we've lost. If you become defined by that object which you hate, you're just as trapped. So enjoy PORCFEST, enjoy the good weather, and don't think about the government for the next 5 minutes if you can.
PORCFEST is affiliated with the Free State Project. This is PORCFEST 11, which means, of course, it's been here for 11 years. The Free State Project is trying to get a critical mass of libertarians, abolitionists, anarchists, and minarchists in one place so that they can have a critical impact as a voting bloc, a political bloc, and a philosophical bloc to move us in an evolution forward to a peaceful society.
Oh, you got the makeup on. I put eyeliner on and it's like even further.
Oh, I see him. That is
It's the largest gathering of liberty-minded people in the world, so I come here to network and learn to see how other people are trying to remain free in a state of society. It's about gathering together with other liberty-minded people and informing others of the project, the Free State Project, moving to New Hampshire, signing up, moving to New Hampshire, and working together in community to bring liberty to the world.
We're heading to New York for a baseball game, but we decided to stop in at PORCFEST to see what it's all about, and it's awesome. I think we need to have one of these in Alaska, and I think they should have them in every state.
Come to the Porcupine Fest to learn about libertarianism, learn about Bitcoin, learn about the future, and learn something. Wake yourself up.
Yes, wake up.
Hi.
Yeah, like I find advertisers, I get a commission for that. That's pretty much my goal.
I've been having a lot of hope recently about
last year at PORCFEST, I talked to Carla Garrett, the president of the Free State Project, and she had, convinced me that maybe we need to step into an organizational role and, take care of organizing this year. And I fell for it, so here we are organizing this year, and honestly, it's been quite a challenge, herding all the cats and making sure that everything comes off, pretty well. And I think overall, it was a very successful event.
For a 9x13 group photo.
Number 74.
74! We have a winner in a pink shirt. Go see Hunter in the back, under the green tent.
After the photo.
After the photo.
I wanted to have less
$5
heels,
goes to the FSC.
The legs are a little bit in there, so move like a half meter that way. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you for being the polite porcupines we all know you to be. You're welcome! All right, we're doing a raffle. If you have one of these red mugs, you're in the raffle.